Welcome back to my channel, I24 News. Thank you for tuning in. Today we're bringing you a major story that might just have slipped past the headlines but has far-reaching consequences, a bold move by Poland which appears to block access, and send a very clear message, to Belarus and ultimately Vladimir Putin. The headline reads, Putin never saw this coming, Poland just blocked Belarus access to Kaliningrad Oblast again. Let's unpack what's happening, why, and what it means for the region and the world. First, the facts as we currently understand them. Poland announced a full closure of its border with Belarus on September 12, 2025, suspending road, rail and pedestrian crossings in both directions. The closure coincided with the start of the joint Russian-Belarusian military drills known as Zapad 2025, which were due to begin in Belarus and western Russia. Poland's interior minister made clear the decision was prompted by concerns about national security. Although the headline in our story frames it as, Poland just blocked Belarus access to Kaliningrad, in fact the action taken was the border closure. That closure affects direct transit routes, and indirectly undermines logistical and strategic flows involving Belarus, Russia and the exclave Kaliningrad. The region of Kaliningrad, surrounded by EU, NATO states, Poland and Lithuania, and separated from mainland Russia, is a strategic focal point in East-West military and trade dynamics. So Poland's move is very much more than a bilateral border decision, it speaks to wider geopolitics. The Kyiv Independent +3. Reuters +1. Usenet.org +1. Why did Poland do it? Several key motivations are clear. One is heightened security apprehension. Poland cited aggressive maneuvers near its border and specifically flagged the Suwalki Gap, the narrow strip of land between Poland and Lithuania which sits between Belarus and the Russian enclave of Kaliningrad, as a potential flashpoint. Additionally, Poland has accused Russia and Belarus of provocations, including drone incursions across Polish airspace. The timing of the closure suggests Warsaw wanted to take preemptive action. Secondly, the closure serves as a signal. By depriving Belarus of the usual transit routes through Poland, and by implication disrupting Russia's connectivity to its enclave, Poland is communicating that security considerations outweigh economic ones, and that it is willing to assert control over these transit corridors. Thirdly, Poland appears to be leveraging its position in the broader NATO-EU context, intervening in a corridor that directly concerns Russia's strategic access to Kaliningrad, while also sending a message that supports Allied deterrence. Blue News +1. The Kyiv Independent. Top-center.org +1. What are the immediate implications? For Belarus, the border closure has serious economic and logistical consequences. Numerous freight trains and trucks have been stranded, and the closure affects not only bilateral trade but also the wider land link between Europe and Asia via Belarus and Poland. For Russia, the move undermines one of the land routes connecting its mainland to the Kaliningrad enclave, which is sensitive given the enclave's role in Russia's Baltic Sea posture. For Poland and NATO, the decision strengthens deterrence posture and reinforces control of a strategic buffer zone. It also increases tension with Russia and Belarus, and risks escalation. For trade, this disruption of a corridor means companies and countries may seek alternative routes, reducing Poland's role as transit hub and shifting patterns of supply chains. So the move has economic, security and geopolitical dimensions. Brussels Signal +1. Usenet.org +1. Top-center.org. What does this tell us about Putin's calculus and Russia's wider strategy? The headline, Putin never saw this coming, is provocative, and while we cannot guarantee ignorance on the Russian side, what is clear is that Russia may not have expected such open assertiveness from Poland, especially given that the transit and access routes have always been sensitive but were seldom fully shut. Russia counts on these corridors for access, supply and strategic flexibility. The disruption indicates that Russia's assumed freedom of movement in the region may be challenged. In the larger sense, this indicates that NATO border states are less hesitant to engage in measures that impact Russian access, and that the security dynamic is shifting from passive deterrence to more active infrastructure control. There are risks, of course. Russia could interpret this as escalation and respond accordingly, either via regional military posturing, increased support to Belarus, or direct threats to Kaliningrad. The decision also risks economic blowback for EU partners, as transit routes are disrupted. Moreover, this kind of confrontation raises the possibility of miscalculation leading to armed incident. On the flip side, Poland's move might lead to strengthened alliances, more investment in regional defense, and a clearer delineation of red lines regarding Russian access to enclaves and transit corridors. What should we watch in the coming days and weeks? First, whether Belarus or Russia retaliate, through diplomatic channels, sanctions, or physical responses such as cyber attacks or military maneuvers. Second, whether Poland reopens the crossings and under what conditions. Prime Minister Donald Tusk has already warned the border could remain closed or be closed again if threats intensify. Third, developments around the Kaliningrad exclave, particularly whether Russia takes steps to reinforce its supply lines via sea or air, or attempts to circumvent land closures via Lithuania or other Baltic channels. Fourth, how trade routes shift, whether freight and logistics bypass Poland, Belarus entirely to go south through the Middle Corridor, via Caucasus and Central Asia. Lastly, the broader NATO strategy, will we see increased troop deployments, border fortifications, surveillance infrastructure along the Polish-Belarus and Polish-Kaliningrad borders? The Kyiv Independent, top-center.org. In summary, Poland's closure of its border with Belarus, and the incidental disruption to Russia's access to Kaliningrad, is a bold strategic move. It underscores that transit and infrastructure are now frontlines in the broader competition with Russia. It shows that Russia's assumed advantages of geography and access are under pressure. It suggests that the post-2022 war world is not just about battlefields in Ukraine, it's also about corridors, borders and supply chains. For analysts and policymakers, this means thinking about access, connectivity and choke points, not just tanks and missiles. That wraps up our report for today on this unfolding situation. If you found this video informative, please hit the like button, share it with friends, and subscribe to i24 News so you never miss the latest in global geopolitics. Remember to press the bell icon to get notifications. Thanks once again for watching, stay alert, stay informed, and I'll see you next time here on i24 News.